We have all gone through something that can feel impossible to get out of or feel stuck in. My story is when I was hit by a semi-truck and got severely injured and broke my spine. Today, I want to share with you how to turn that pain into power and how to overcome that by sharing my story as well as my clinical background as a therapist and my experience as a life coach. Thanks for joining me today. This is Anita with your Life Tools. If you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so you can follow me on my journey of continuous healing and adventure and growth, but also helpful hints on how to continue your own self-healing journey. My story. It was a couple years ago. I was traveling from California to Arizona, and it was 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was with my fiance. Sorry, it's really hard to talk about this stuff. I should know this. I work with many clients that I ask to process trauma. But prior to that, I've never shared this on camera or with very many people I know. But I believe I did have an experience of, I don't know what you call it, death or something, because it was complete darkness and I saw a bunch of colors. The best way I can describe it is, anyone seen the movie, the Barbie movie, like the newer one, and she has like this talk with a higher being about the reason and purpose of life and stuff. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm not exactly sure, but I remember the colory filter they had on the video. I saw those colors and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I saw my life in reverse. Well, not in reverse, from when I was younger. And the people that I love most in my life were there. So I saw myself as a really young girl, flashbacks to moments. And so I remember waking up very scared and didn't know what was going on. I was actually calling for my fiance and my mom. My mom obviously was nowhere to be found, and I was in horrific pain and confusion. And eventually it turned a little bit of fear. But in that moment, I was like, knew obviously something wasn't right. And I used every calming technique in the world to say, I need to remain calm. This is a life or death situation. The pain is unbearable. Again, I don't know what happened to me or anyone else. I need to remain calm and be still. And that's what I did. Well, the semi-truck hit us and they drove off. It was a hit and run. We were stuck in a ditch and it was black and night and it was in the middle of nowhere. It took 45 minutes for police to come, and it took an hour for the ambulance to come, and then that helicopter come to lift me up. So fast forward through all the pain, I remember being in the hospital and it was like overcrowded. We're in the hallway and I can't move. They're asking me to move my legs and I can't move. I'm not very responsive and I can't see around me. Like I can't move my neck or anything. And they have me kind of like, I think they had me strapped down in the pain, and they're trying to, tolerate the pain. I don't want to get too much into the hospital part, but I think it's important because in that moment, I did think about me not having the ability to function like I normally can and not be able to, walk or move or be in a wheelchair or death. And I made a decision. To not allow any of that to come true. I told myself I am refusing that reality because that is just not the way my story is going to be. That's just not my life. And I just refused it. Fast forward to emergency surgery, finding out that I fractured my T2 and my T3, and little parts of the bone did scatter, but it missed my spinal cord, thank goodness. So, healing process. I can't tell you like I was like this therapist that knew all the skills and was amazing in the moment, because I wasn't. I was scared and in pain and angry and uncomfortable and sad. All of the emotions you can think of. Also grateful. Don't get me wrong, I was very grateful that my children were in the car with me. I was very grateful that my fiance was okay, that nobody else got hurt. So if we can control that, but then all the other feelings. And I feel like some people can get like survivor's guilt which I somewhat did and my fiance did, because we're on a floor with many, many people who were way more injured and not well off, and people losing their lives. But there was this torn feeling of guilt and anger. But again, refusing for this to be my reality. They told me the recovery was going to be long and there's no guarantee on my abilities and what can happen. And I felt very frustrated when I had to go to the inpatient rehab. I was like, I was the youngest one there. And I know there's been children who've been hurt, so I'm not trying to compare, but it is difficult to be the youngest one there and be around people who are suffering either more or in a different age range, and everyone's staring at you and you don't have the ability to even go to the bathroom on your own. Learning to walk again, learning all those skills again. And it's a very vulnerable and frustrating state to be in. And then on top of it, being a parent and not having access to your loved ones, so you could be there and help and take care of them. I had to rely on anybody that would come to my side at that time, which, just shout out to you guys. I really appreciate everyone who was there for me. But when all this happens, the world doesn't stop. It kept going, and I needed full-time care around the clock. When I say I lost everything, I did. I lost a sense of my identity. I had to stop working. I had to rely on other people. Our finances were more than cut in half, and bills were coming. We experienced eviction. We experienced difficulty finding help, because a lot of people, when you're trying to find state services and help, it doesn't make sense to them because we were very stable before and all of a sudden not. So not to get too much into personal, it's just a very unique situation to be in. What made it even more unique is I found myself, my degree is in social work, and I went and specialized in trauma therapy. But before that, and all my volunteer work was in helping in nonprofits and helping other families that were not in well-off situations, shelters, abuse shelters, and things like that. And I was astonished to see myself flopped around and not finding a home or food to eat or where to go, and being on the other side of it. A little bit, I've had that years ago when I was a teenager, but not as an adult. And I was just sad to see there wasn't a lot of support for social workers who do go through life things, or therapists who go through life things, and it hurts. But again, I just refused to accept this reality that I was in, and losing our home, our lifestyle, our freedom. It was very difficult to be happy in that time. But I physically healed, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that. So you see me now healed, and you see me now in a whole nother country. And that's the part that I want to go in more depth of. How did I get here? How did I heal emotionally and mentally? How did I overcome it? And how can you do that? What I did to help me heal. I had to be 100% vulnerable and be okay for asking for help. I got uncomfortable, essentially. I asked family for help. I called churches, donation centers. I had to put all my ego and pride aside because I had a family to care for. Apply for programs, anything you can think of. I had to go to the private practice I was working for and ask for support and help, which they were amazing. And I couldn't ask for more, for help with them. So I had to be comfortable with being vulnerable. And for you, that could look like asking for trusted family or friends. Again, if you are religious or spiritual, it can be from them, or a therapist or a life coach. Because it's okay to need help. It's okay to be in the mud of things and not sure where to go. Or you might know where to go, but you don't have the energy or the inner strength right now to do it, and that's okay. So I had to be vulnerable and ask for help. That was number one. Number two, I had to daily remind myself, what is it that I am working towards? And there were little goals, there was big goals. My big one was to, make a change in the world and travel the world and happiness and love and joy for my family. But the little goals were simple as making it through the day without crying, making it through the week with everyone's tummies full of food, making the month paying utility bills. Simple things like that. So making goals is very key and priority, daily and weekly and monthly goals. Especially when you're in the midst of things, it's important to know your big goal. So when you're losing focus and it feels hopeless, you're remembering what you're working towards. And then the simple goals, the daily and weekly, are important so you know exactly what you can do right now, right? We can't do all of it, and it can feel very overwhelming, but what can you do right now? What can you do today? What can you do in the morning when you wake up? Very important, because then you feel like you're working towards something and you feel accomplished, and the brain gets that reward system going and you feel hopeful. The next thing is being kind to yourself. Kindness to yourself and kindness to others. And that looks like being really aware of how you speak to yourself, the thoughts that you have, the memories that you have, what you're choosing to focus on. When you're in survival mode, like I was, it's not really the time to process the trauma. It's just not the time. You're in survival mode, you're trying to figure out if you have food and shelter. So put the trauma aside. You visualize a bookshelf. For me, a bookshelf. I've done a lot of visualizations with people. So visualize putting the actual trauma that you've experienced on the bookshelf. And we're going to explore that later at another time. We'll explore later with a professional, someone we trust, and just a time where we feel safer. We're not ignoring it, we're just putting it to the side. And then we're going to learn to be kind to ourselves and the things that we think about. I put a picture of my younger self on my phone as a reminder to be kind to myself, because what things I would say or judgment I would put on myself when I do that to my younger version of myself. That's that inner child work you probably hear a lot now. It's gotten really popular, but for me, I needed visualizations. So for you, that could be a picture of yourself on your phone, or maybe in your bedroom, somewhere hung up, something you can see. It could be your favorite quote, it can be an affirmation, it could be something you're working towards. So I like to do the 5 senses. We have sight, hear, feel, taste, and smell. So what are those things doing for you? How can we help them work for you? You probably have heard it for grounding techniques, but what can we use them to help you get through your day? And so is it a very lovely smell that brings good memories? Is it a weighted blanket that brings comfort at night? Is it a picture or affirmations? Are there podcasts or videos or music that you listen to that makes you feel important? Is it a favorite food that's comfort, but not too much of it, that is also very grounding and peaceful for you? So think about your 5 senses, and because sometimes we forget about that and become very, very overwhelmed with everything surrounding us and not realize that our surroundings are probably triggering us. And we might not be able to control all of that, which is fine, but what can we bring into our environment to help us? So another thing I did with talking about bringing things that helped me was spirituality. I had to get and realize what I believed in, and the way to practice that was YouTube videos, podcasts, music, and speaking to others who believed in the same thing as me, but also being open to new information and new spiritual practices until I found some that really hit home with me and aligned with my goal and what felt right with me. And so that can be different for anybody and everyone. So whatever spiritual practice you might already be doing that aligns with you, or what is some things you can explore and be open to that you can feel like feels right with you. I'm all about feeling. So if you're new to my channel, you'll find out I'm all about the feels. There's the science behind things that make sense, the logic, and then you got the feelings that creates wisdom. And so I was listening to things that were very supportive and encouraging and helped me process. Next, I journaled. I journaled a lot. You can call it manifesting or just journaling. It wasn't a lot of journaling on like reflection or the trauma, because again, I wasn't ready to process it in the middle of the mud, being in the mud. But I had a journal on my phone that I would get. I had a Samsung S24 Ultra, and I would take my little pen out and I would just write, which is super convenient because it's just super easy to access, write real quick, put the pen back in, goes away. But whatever works with you. I had a paper journal too that I would use at times. So journaling was big, not to process the trauma, but process on how I was feeling and how I want to feel. I created my own affirmations and practiced them. I would like to say I did them daily, but I did them almost daily. Journaling and manifestation was a lot of my coping skills I used when I was maybe getting very overstimulated. An example I could give is I went to the gym, and when I would go to the gym, I had to wear my awkward turtle shell, and it just felt so out of my skin and uncomfortable. But I would open my phone up, visually saw a picture of me when I was younger, took out my pen to write down my manifestations, took a moment to find a space where I can recenter myself. And I had my partner too to help me with remembering the tools I had and remembering to take a deep breath. So all the skills, right? I have breathing techniques that are very helpful, finding a safe place, identifying what my triggers are. What are your triggers? What are things that are very triggering to you? You might not be able to get rid of them, but you can identify them so you can be maybe more prepared. So for me, going into the gym, and when it started to get like overcrowded, I knew it was a trigger for me. And so I communicated that with my partner, and he was kind of a great help, not kind of, he was a great help to be like, okay, look, we need to step outside. Maybe we need to just go home and try again another time, or just take a step into the corner and just calm down, breathe, use your breathing exercises, write, manifest, positive affirmations, whatever it is for you to recenter yourself and start again. And so we have skills, manifesting, affirmations, goals. All those things helped me. They help on a daily basis, but they help on a bigger scheme of things. So as I rebuilt myself back up, I thought about my big goal. And for me at that time, it was me and my fiance going to travel overseas, because that was our original goal to begin with. And the accident really threw us off on a track, and we didn't let that goal change. We had visual manifestations of a map. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's dogs, and I was going to stop recording. But if you can hear the dogs, it's because I live in Bali and there's dogs everywhere, essentially. But another visual manifestation me and my fiance had, which makes it even more powerful, is when you have the same goals as your partner or a loved one or a child or any kind of group that you're working together. We had a map of the place we wanted to visit, which is Bali, and we saw that every day, multiple times a day, wake up, go to bed. And that was a very helpful thing to remember, because again, when you're in the mud of things, you can forget about it really easily. Those are my skills that I use to help me get out of the mud. We accomplished getting stable again, back to baseline. And then once we met baseline, we accomplished a very, I don't want to say small, it was a big goal, but it was a goal for celebration. That's where I got engaged too. So it was very exciting. It was a beautiful time. But how did I even get out of that and then come to here? I used all those skills again, hyper focused on them, and that helped me get to where I am. So that's the thing, is when you're in the mud, you think like, how am I going to get to way over here and climb the top of this pyramid? Let's just say that, on the pyramid. But that's our goal. But right now, let's go down here and think about how we're going to get out of the mud, get to baseline, get out of that survival mode, and become stable again. This is what I want you to do. Accept where you are. Acceptance, radical acceptance. Be kind to yourself. Practice one of the things I mentioned, or if you have something else, comment down below what you're doing, maybe right now, or something that you want to do. Have some accountability, hold it to yourself. And visualize your bloom. Visualize your growth. Visualize that lotus flower that I've talked about before, and how that flower comes from the muddiest, murkiest waters, represents abundance and love and growth. If you're ready to start your healing journey, or you already have done so, comment down below. If you feel comfortable, maybe share your journey or tell us where you are in your journey of healing. I believe when you do that, it's creating a community, and if we're supporting each other, you have that much energy just given to you, and believe in, you never know who you're going to touch. Someone might not comment or like or engage, but they could read what you put, and it could be helping to them. It can make people feel not alone. As I mentioned before, I am a life coach. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, please comment down below or shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you, and we can have a free consultation and figure out how we can help you get through this healing journey so you're not alone, because you're not. None of us are. Sometimes we need a little nudge, a little guidance, just the right tools to get you on track. Thanks for joining, and I hope you have a beautiful day or evening or morning.